Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name is Lauren. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. We have got another Manis and Musings video. I'm going to be doing these every Sunday, and I'm really excited for today's video. Last week, I shared with you guys the Book of Joy, and we talked about perspective taking, and just how it can shift your communication and your ability to get along with other people. And in that video, I talked a little bit about the idea of self-love, and that when we really love ourselves, we don't have to get offended as easily or be afraid to be wrong in conversations because we're really super secure in ourselves. So I thought today it might be nice to talk a little bit more about self-love, about what it is, and also what it isn't, and some ways that you can start cultivating more self-love in your own life. If you missed last week's video, or you're not really sure what this whole series is about, basically I run a beauty channel, but I'm also a life coach, so I wanted to start doing some more life coach oriented videos for you guys on Sundays. So we're gonna sit down, paint our nails, hang out, and chat about today self-love. And if you guys have any particular topics you'd be really curious to hear more about in the future, definitely let me know in the comments. I always love hearing your feedback. Obviously, this is a massive topic, so I'm not going to be able to say everything today that I would like to say on the topic of self-love, but hopefully this will at least get the conversation started and give you some interesting food for thought. My nails are in a desperate need of being painted, so while we are hanging out together, I'm gonna use this Ginsoon polish. I honestly don't know if I've ever actually painted my nails with this color. It's called Vogue Rose. They released this with Birchbox, I think, or for like a special Birchbox, I think last year sometime. It looks like a fun, cheery color, so I'm gonna try it out. So I would say up through probably my early 20s or so, I struggled a lot with anxiety and depression. I mean, I definitely still struggle with anxiety for sure. I think that's something I'm just gonna have for my entire life, but I was very, very depressed at times through my teens and especially through my early 20s. But one day I had a bit of an epiphany. I thought to myself, if the voice in my head was a person out there in the world, would I want to be friends with them? And you know, I realized in that moment, like, no, like not even a little bit. The way that I would think to myself, the way that I would talk to myself in my head, I would never, ever in a million years put up with that from someone else, because I realized like that voice in my head was so self-critical and so judgmental and so cruel and harsh. And if that was a person that was, you know, talking to me, I would be so offended. And yet I just put up with that all the time without even really thinking very much about it. And I realized to myself in that moment, like, why? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I putting up with treating myself this way? Why shouldn't I treat myself the same way that I would treat my friends? Because I was one of those people, like, I would treat my friends so much better than I would ever treat myself. And somewhere in there, I just had this turning point of, no, like enough is enough. I deserve better than that. And I think that was the moment that I really started to appreciate the need for self-love and began to embark on this journey to develop more self-love and understand what it really is. And I know the journey is far from over. I'm pretty sure that one takes a lifetime, but I've learned a few things that I wanted to share with you guys. So I think one of the biggest obstacles that people face in experiencing self-love is that they misunderstand what self-love actually is. So I'm going to define self-love as the act of expressing compassion, respect, and appreciation towards oneself. What self-love is not is self-centeredness, selfishness, or arrogance. And like that may seem really obvious to you, but in actuality, the difference is way more subtle and complicated than we usually give it credit for. So like, take the phrase, "I am awesome." Is that an expression of self-love, or is that an expression of arrogance? The answer, it depends. It really depends on the energy that is behind that statement. I'm awesome could be an expression of appreciation for everything that you're capable of all of your gifts and your skills and your talents, but also your flaws and your weaknesses. I am awesome can come from a place of an appreciation of everything that makes you, you. But when the sentiment is coming from a place of self-love, it also understands that we're all awesome because it's not a comparative thing. But when I'm awesome comes from a place of arrogance, what you're really saying is, I'm more awesome than you are, or I'm awesome and you're not. And like, I think we've all encountered one of those people out there in the world that thinks they are like, you know, God's gift to humanity, and it can be a little bit off-putting. But sometimes arrogant energy can be a lot more sneaky and subtle than that. Like maybe someone's hurt our feelings, and in our pain we say, screw you, I'm awesome. Like if you've ever been dumped, there's a pretty high likelihood that you know exactly where I'm coming from with that. And that response is so normal. But it's not an expression of self-love, it's an expression of self-protection. We're retaliating in that moment against our fear and against our pain. We're mentally tearing down our emotional attacker, and we're building ourselves up in the process. And you know, that's normal, and sometimes that's really helpful. Sometimes we need to create that energy for ourselves so we can like move on from something or let go of a particularly hurtful situation. But it's not self-love, and if we really want to understand and cultivate more self-love in our lives, we need to have a full appreciation for what it really is and what it looks like. So as I see it, self-love has 3 components: self-respect, self-compassion, and self-appreciation. So let's start out by talking about self-respect. Whenever we are in our minds calling ourselves names, talking down to ourselves, generally being cruel to ourselves, we are not showing ourselves respect. You know, just as we would extend respect to other people out there in the world, even people that we don't like, we should extend that similar level of respect to ourselves. If you're one of those people that frequently calls themselves an idiot, oh my god, I'm so stupid, I'm so ugly, I'm so this, I'm so that, this is an area you may want to start to work on. The words that you use in your mind that you call yourself hold a lot of power. And the more you bring your awareness to the fact that you're doing it will allow you to start to change it. And that change particularly goes hand in hand with the next thing, which is self-compassion. Our self-compassion is our ability to forgive ourselves, to be patient with ourselves, to generally, just be understanding of the fact that we're not perfect. Our self-compassion is what allows us to feel emotions and not immediately feel the need to judge them as being good or bad. It's what allows us to not shame ourselves every time we make a mistake or screw something up. So let's say you want to work on self-respect, and then you catch yourself calling yourself an idiot in your head. You're like, dang it, I was stupid, I'm such an idiot. In that moment, it's very tempting to just beat ourselves up further for making that mistake and engaging in that behavior. But if we have compassion with ourselves, we're able to say, you know what, it's okay. Called ourselves an idiot this time, but we'll be better next time. We'll just keep working at it. Maybe we think to ourselves, no, I'm not an idiot. This time I didn't really have all the information, or I wasn't paying attention. It's okay. So in that respect, compassion and respect really go hand in hand with one another. When we fail to have compassion for ourselves, it's so much easier to be disrespectful. And I feel like it's kind of the same way with how we treat people out there in the world. If we have less empathy and compassion for someone, we may be much more tempted to be disrespectful in the way that we speak of them or towards them. And I think in a way sometimes with people out there in the world it's a little bit easier because there's consequence. Like if we're disrespectful towards someone, they may get upset with us and that creates conflict. When we're disrespectful towards ourselves, sometimes we just let it slide. We just take that beating all of the time. So just by kind of bringing that awareness and training yourself to think about it a little bit more, you can bring more compassion to yourself. You can let yourself realize you do deserve respect and that the process of changing all those bad habits, it takes time. You need to have patience, but you will get there. Now, the third part of self-love is self-appreciation. Self-appreciation is having an awareness of what makes you, you. It's your strengths and your weaknesses. It's your talents, your skills, your gifts, your abilities, and also all those areas in your life that you have room to grow. True self-appreciation, it's honest. Because we extend ourselves self-respect and self-compassion, we can look at ourselves in all its full, flawed glory and be okay with it. Like, of course, you can objectively measure yourself up against someone else and like a particular aspect of your life, and you may come out better or worse than them. But the ultimate truth is that our self-worth can't be defined by just one thing alone. We all have worth, and no one person's worth is objectively greater than anyone else's. We only create the illusion that that's the case by focusing on one specific aspect as if that's all that matters. So let's take it back to the best friend example. Let's pretend that you have a friend that knows you inside and out, the good, the bad, everything in between. They aren't afraid to call you out on your crap, but you also know they would never judge you or shame you for it. They're patient. They're kind. They help you find lightness and humor when you need it, just as much as they're willing to sit there with you while you bawl your eyes out. They remind you how great you are, but they never need to tear other people down to do it. They believe in you and appreciate you, and they inspire you to be the best version of yourself possible. So now imagine that person is the voice in your head. What would your life look like? We all deserve to be our own best friends. We all deserve to treat ourselves with the same amount of compassion and respect and appreciation that we would easily give to someone else. And if you aren't there yet, that's okay. We're all at our own place in the journey. Everyone has their own process. All that matters is that you have an awareness that it's possible, so you can start working towards it. And remember that before all other relationships, the one that you have with yourself is the longest. It is the one that's been with you since birth and will be with you until you die. So you might as well get that one right, and all the other ones, I promise, will follow suit. So I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me today. I'm digging this nail polish. I think it's an appropriately cheery color for today's topic of conversation. If you enjoyed this video and this series, please give it a thumbs up. I always really appreciate your support and your feedback. If there's a particular topic you'd like me to explore in a future video in this series, let me know in the comments down below. Your feedback is always very helpful. And if you're not subscribed to my channel and you want to see more of these videos and my beauty content in the future, I hope you will click that button before you go. I hope you all have an amazing week ahead, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.